Álvaro started Jiu-Jitsu 10 years old, directly with Master Carlos Marcelo Gracie. So he was there to witness the whole history from the beginning, the very beginning. First Vale Tudos, how was that? So any question comes to your mind, it's not technically, he don't need to explain technically, he's going to be very theoretical. No, you have any question for concepts or strategy or something like that, it's okay, but I'm not going to be showing any technique right now. It's about questions and answers of the life, of history, of Jiu-Jitsu, and what is vision, what think about it. So, curiosities. Pedrão, a cadeira aqui do lado também, vamos precisar de você. Se você quiser fazer uma pergunta, você vai ter o privilégio. So, I'm going to give you guys a word for it to make questions. So every time you have a question, put your hands up. And everyone is free to ask a question. You answer. If you have a question for me as well, I'm more than welcome to answer as well. But more directed for Master Álvaro. So anybody have any question here? Professor Yakulik?
So I guess the first one would be if you could explain how you started in Jiu-Jitsu and your first class of Jiu-Jitsu, who was with, what did you do? That would be, how did you start?
Seu início de Jiu-Jitsu, primeira classe, primeira aula, como é que aconteceu esse livro do Jiu-Jitsu? Quem estava lá?
Meu pai era diretor de um instituto de educação no Rio de Janeiro.
He's the director of Institute of Education in Rio de Janeiro.
E essa instituição, essa escola, ela era muito grande, tinha um espaço, tinha ginásio, tinha quadras, porque não é comum no Brasil. Em algumas instituições tem, mas essa realmente tinha campo de futebol, tinha campo de atletismo e ginásio. E o ginásio era uma coisa importante quando meu pai foi procurado pelo Carlos Gracie. Pode falar.
So I would say that institution was it's not common in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil, to have a school like you guys have here with a gymnasium and soccer field, a field for athleticism. So this one was actually with everything, and there was a big space.
E o Carlos Gracie procurou meu pai solicitando se meu pai poderia ceder aquele ginásio para fazer uma luta do Hélio Gracie, que estava sendo desafiado por uma pessoa chamada Caribé.
So Master Carlos Gracie went to his father and asked for the gymnasium if it was available for a fight, to host an event that Master Hélio was challenged by a guy named Caribé. Qual era a luta dele?
Foi uma luta que não foi...
Mas ele era do
Não tinha, ele queria, ele praticava arte marcial, mas não tinha uma coisa fixa. Ele treinava de kimono, ele não era de judô, não sabia, eu não sei qual era o tipo, eu acho que era jiu-jitsu também, mas um jiu-jitsu de uma outra linha.
Yeah, I asked what was the martial arts the guy was under, because that time was a lot of challenge between martial arts. He said the guy trained with the gi-on, but nobody really knew if it was judo or jiu-jitsu. Supposed to be jiu-jitsu, but another lineage, another origin.
Eu acredito que esse desafio foi muito mais porque o Hélio naquela época estava começando, existia já o nome da família Gracie, ainda não muito conhecido, né? E estava começando com a escola, que ele dava aula, depois eu falo esse assunto. Então, ele quis desafiar o Hélio para poder medir força, medir técnicas, entendeu?
Yeah. The challenge was more like was opportunity to make some marketing for the Gracie Academy was starting that time, and so the challenge was always welcome, for give them a chance for show their skills. And the guy was trying to really measure the capacities there, efficiency of the martial arts.
Não foi foram pessoas convidadas para ir, não era muita gente.
Wasn't open, was just invitation only to watch it.
E nessa época, o meu irmão João Alberto, o grande mestre João Alberto, tinha 15 anos de idade.
At that time, Grandmaster João Alberto was 15 years old.
João Alberto hoje vai fazer 80 anos.
Master João Alberto is gonna be 80 years old this year.
E ele tinha 15
And was 15 that year.
E ele era aluno do Colégio Militar. O Colégio Militar no Brasil é um colégio tradicionalmente que trata daqueles alunos que querem seguir a carreira militar e tem toda uma formação média, ensino médio e depois não ensino superior, médio e de primeiro grau e segundo grau.
So that time, Master João Alberto, Grandmaster João Alberto was joined the military school, and the military school is just preparing people to start a career in the armed forces. When you finish the school, you're going to be like a lieutenant. So,
e o colégio militar exigia não só a parte intelectual, mas a parte física também. Então, o João Alberto era muito forte, fazia o peso, então ele tinha um físico muito bem distribuído para a idade dele.
And he was a very strong kid because the military school, beside the study, all the disciplines there, one of the most important was the physical education. He had to be very well fit, and he was working with the weights and everything, so he was a very strong kid for his age.
E o meu pai chamou o João Alberto para mostrar ao Carlos Gracie o físico, né, para, de repente, se ele daria para fazer luta, alguma coisa assim.
So, as long as Carlos Gracie was there, his father called his brother to go there, and that's my son here. What do you think about the strong kid? Do you think it's going to be good for him to practice jiu-jitsu?
E a partir desse momento, o João Alberto começou a praticar o jiu-jitsu. E logo em seguida, 2 anos depois, eu comecei também.
So he started that year, and 2 years later, Master Albert started.
Com 10 anos de idade.
10 years old.
Eu sou de uma família de 10 irmãos, os 10 irmãos comigo.
So he had 9 brothers and sisters. So that's why the difference in age was like that.
E do João Alberto, eu e o Sérgio fomos para praticar o jiu-jitsu.
So 3 brothers.
Eles eram os mais novos.
Yeah, the youngest brothers, Grandmaster João Alberto, Grandmaster Sérgio, and Grandmaster Álvaro was the 3 who went to jiu-jitsu.
E ali começou a nossa história do jiu-jitsu e nunca mais paramos. E eu comecei então a frequentar a Academia Gracie, assistindo primeiro.
And then since they started, they never quit. And when he started to go to the Gracie School, he was more like observing what was going on.
Nessa época ainda a Academia Gracie não era conhecida, a academia era pequena, porque era a casa do Hélio Gracie, ele morava num prédio, onde um apartamento com 4 quartos, e um dos quartos era a sala de tatame.
So that was the very first start of the Gracie Academy. They used to train at Grandmaster Hélio's apartment. That apartments in that time in that location, they were big apartments. So it was a 4-room apartments with big rooms, but one of the rooms was the club, in the building.
So one bedroom was used
as academy.
It was matted, and that was the academy in one bedroom.
E ali, algum tempo depois, eles já estavam fazendo uma big academia no andar inteiro no centro da cidade.
And a little bit after, they did their first Rio Academy in downtown Rio, and it was a big one. A little bit after this, when he started at Grandmaster Helio's apartment.
That was a whole floor.
Tinham 5 tatames, 5 salas de luta.
And the new dojo, there was 5 different method areas.
Um só era um ginásio, era uma sala de luta grande para poder competir, fazer treinamentos, e as outras eram para aulas. Também não eram pequenas, mas eram aulas particulares. Não tinha aula coletiva.
There didn't used to be a group class. The classes were individual, like private. So he said that one room was big enough for more people to go in, and they would do more practicing and more free practice, and the other rooms were smaller. They're probably more used to for the privates.
Na academia Gracie, eles tinham 5 professores.
They used to have 5 teachers or professors at the Gracie Academy.
Nessa big academia.
In the big one, in the one in downtown.
O João Alberto,
His brother João Alberto,
Carlson Gracie,
Carson Gracie,
Hélio Vigio,
Hélio Vigio,
Robson Gracie
Robson Gracie,
e Armando Vrig.
Armando Vrig. These were the teachers.
Eles davam aula individual, cada um no seu tatame.
Each one of them would have the method area, like a specific method area. They would use that specific method area.
Na verdade, o objetivo da Academia Gracie nesse início era para atender só executivos.
In the beginning, their goal was to teach only executives, so more self-defense to higher level, economically speaking, or richer people.
Eles quando eles iam para fazer aula, eles chegavam com a carteirinha e entregavam no vestiário. Tinha um vestiário. O kimono era da academia. O kimono era emprestado para ele limpo, com toalha e uma ficha dentro dessa cesta. Era uma cesta com o kimono todo dobrado, limpo, para como tivesse vindo da lavanderia.
So you would walk into the dojo with your ID, your dojo ID, and you would go into the change room, and in the change room they would have a basket with a clean and folded kimono or gi that was belonged from the dojo, and you would use it and then give it back, and a towel. So you would get a little basket with a clean gi and a towel.
And a
little, they had like the card that you mark the presents on, so and the card was there too in the basket.
O aluno com essa cesta iria para o vestiário masculino ou feminino, fosse mulher ou homem.
He would go to the change room after that with the basket.
O professor era avisado que estava chegando aquele aluno dele, porque cada professor tinha os seus alunos.
So each professor would have his specific student. So once a student would go in to the academy and grab the basket and go change, then somebody would let the specific professor know that his student was in.
Então o professor ia ao vestiário, ele botava a roupa no armário, fechava, pegava a ficha, tirava a ficha, entregava para o professor, e o professor encaminhava com ele para o tatame, para a sala de aula.
So once they would change, they would get the card, then the professor would go with the student to the specific method area, room.
Quando ele chegava na sala, ele pegava o telefone e ligava para a secretaria dizendo que ia começar aquela aula com aquele aluno, número X.
So by the time he got into the room, he would call downstairs and so let the secretary aware that the class was starting. So the class of so-and-so is starting now.
Quando ele terminava a aula, ele saía, o aluno ia para o vestiário, ele ia direto na secretaria, levando a ficha do aluno, e ele rubricava a ficha e entregava.
And when the class was done, he would the student would go change, and he would go to the secretary with the card, and he would mark the card there that the class was done.
A duração da aula era de meia hora.
It would take 30 minutes each class.
Individual.
Private.
Tinha curso de 36 aulas.
There was a curriculum of 36 classes.
Curso básico que era exatamente defesa pessoal, golpes traumáticos, judo e luta no chão.
So the basic curriculum was self-defense, judo, ground fighting, and traumatic striking, kicking and punching.
Tinha em torno de quase 800 alunos na Academia Gracie.
Had 800 students.
Começava às 7 horas da manhã e até às 9 da noite.
From 7 in the morning to 9 p.m.
E não parava.
And one after the other, non-stop.
Os professores dormiam na academia.
The professors would sleep in the academy.
E se
And
alimentavam
eat,
também.
and they probably lived in the academy. That's probably what he's going for.
E todos os professores faziam alimentação Gracie.
And all the professors would follow the Gracie diet.
E eu vivi aquele momento da minha criancice. Ali, no início, eu ia assistir às aulas. Eu não cheguei a fazer nenhum treino na Praia do Flamengo, no apartamento. Comecei exatamente na Academia Gracie, já com 10 anos de idade. Eu assistia às aulas e eu era, assim, usado para poder ajudar o professor. Vem cá, faz a posição aqui. E ali eu fui começando a aprender e me movimentar. Claro que eu estudava de manhã e eu ia de tarde, não todos os dias, 2 vezes por semana que eu comecei então a fazer isso.
So in the beginning, when the school was in Grandmaster Alio's apartment, he went a few times there, but he didn't really attend the classes. Then when they moved to the big academy, he would go to school in the morning, and 2 times a week he would go to the academy, more as an observer. But every once in a while they would ask him to come into the class to help or to help demonstrate a position, and with that he start learning the system.
E com isso, na Academia Gracie não havia hierarquia de faixa.
There was no belt system then.
Era todo mundo faixa branca.
Everybody was white belt.
Os professores usavam uma faixa azul marinho.
The teachers wore like a navy blue belt.
E tinha os instrutores, tinham os monitores que ajudavam, que eu fui ser monitor depois.
And you had the professor's assistant, and that's what he became after.
Que comecei com 15 anos de idade.
When he was 15 years old, he became an assistant professor there.
E esses instrutores, esses monitores, etc., eles serviam sempre como exemplo. Vinham alguém visitar a academia que não conhecia o jiu-jitsu, então sempre a gente estava fazendo um treino, mostrando situações. Tem gente que não acreditava, então nós mostrávamos como é que era e não tinha problema de peso nem nada, porque eles não conheciam. Então usávamos toda a filosofia do jiu-jitsu, que era o CD para vencer.
So the instructors were kind of the guinea pigs. If somebody came into the dojo with disbelief into the technique and not really believing what was going on, they were the ones that would have to go there and prove that the technique was good. And he said that there's no size and weight or nothing, and it didn't make a big difference because really the people that walked into the academy didn't know anything, so the technique they had was enough to prove their point.
E essa foi a minha história dentro do jiu-jitsu até aí eu já estava dando aula. Depois da monitoria, eu já com 17 anos já tinha os meus alunos.
So 2 years after he starts as an instructor, he became a professor, and as a professor he had enough students to become a professor.
A minha história é longa.
Yeah, story is a long story, like you see, it's very, very interesting. But I think that some of you guys...
Deixa eu fechar, sabe? Porque a Academia Gracie, deixa eu fechar a Academia Gracie. Então, com 18 anos eu continuava, mas só que eu estudava e dava aula na Academia Gracie.
So he used to go to high school and teach at the same time.
E o Hélio Gracie me chamou e me perguntou o seguinte: olha, nós estamos precisando de você para você dar aula de manhã também, o dia inteiro. E eu digo, mas eu estou estudando, como é que eu faço? Ele falou, aí você tem que ver você.
He said Grandmaster Alio called him, and he said that he needed his help to be a professor at the academy, and he needed him to teach in the morning, all day long in the academy, like the other professors would do. And he told Grandmaster Alio that, but I have to, I have school in the morning, and I have to go to school, I have to study. What can, how do I do? And the Master Alio looked at him and said, that's up to you. You can make your choice.
Nessa época, o Hélio Gracie tinha filho, os filhos eram pequenos. O Rory eu vi nascer.
So he's saying that back then, at this point in time, all the Grandmaster Hélio's son were not even born yet. He said that he saw Horion, which is the older one, he saw when he was born. So they were not there yet.
Então nós tínhamos uma ligação muito forte familiar.
So then they had a very strong bond with Master Hélio because he had no kids. So Master Hélio's family were the professors of the academy.
E por isso que ele veio me fazer
And
isso.
that's why he went to ask him because of the bond.
Mas aí aquilo me perturbou porque o tio Hélio, Uncle Hélio, eu o chamava assim, e assim, para mim ele era uma figura muito importante, ele e o Carlos Gracie para mim. Então quando ele veio falar comigo, aquilo me deu uma desestruturada.
That he felt like a shaken when Grandmaster Hélio asked him that, because he was a very important figure for him, and he didn't really know what to do. I guess he didn't want to let school go. I guess.
E meu pai, na época, a minha família dizia: você tem que estudar, você tem que fazer uma universidade.
And the family was putting pressure for him to keep going to school and to go to university and to finish his studies.
Mas eu comecei muito cedo a minha vida profissional.
But he started too early, early in life, his professional life.
E comecei a dar aula muito jovem.
Yeah, because he started teaching when he was 17, so he started working at a young age.
Isso eu já estava com 18 anos, terminando já partindo para entrar para a universidade. Ainda não estava na universidade.
So that was in a point that he was finishing high school and right before going into university.
E aí eu tive que fazer um conselho. Eu tinha um aluno que era uma família de médicos no Rio de Janeiro. O pai era professor catedrático de uma universidade, os dois filhos eram médicos da mesma especialidade e faziam aula comigo, eles faziam aula individual os três comigo. E eles tinham, quando eu machuquei minha orelha, e ele que cuidava, ele que fez a punção, etc. Por isso que minha orelha não é uma orelha tratada.
He had a family that was a father and two sons, and they're all doctors, and they're all his students. And the father was like the chairman of, he didn't say, but a specialty in university, in the medical school. And they were all his students. They were the ones who treated his ear, and he was saying that's why his ear is not all pumped up, because they were doing the puncture of it.
A concepção naquela época era outra, você tratava da orelha, hoje as pessoas deixam. Né?
Back then, it was not cool to have like a cauliflower ear. Nowadays it became trendy, but back then it was the opposite. Dude, that's ugly, let's make sure you puncture that so you don't get this cauliflower ear.
Porque essas pessoas não sabem que no futuro eles vão ficar mais surdos.
What you guys don't know is that in the future, it's going to affect your hearing capabilities.
Porque a orelha tem o seu formato exatamente para captar o som com mais facilidade.
Yeah, because the shape of the ear is exactly to help the wave sounds get into the ear hole, right?
Aí eu tive que decidir, procurei esse médico, fui me aconselhar com ele, me aconselhei com meu pai, e ele disseram o seguinte: você com o teu jiu-jitsu hoje, você está pronto. Se o tio Hélio está te chamando para dar aula, a partir de amanhã fazer parte dessa equipe, você já está quase pronto. Você agora é só trabalhar e começar a ganhar dinheiro dentro da conformação profissional disso. E o estudo para mim seria deixado em segundo, porque você trabalhava de 7 da manhã às 9 da noite, direto. E nenhum deles estudava. O João Alberto que começou a estudar, foi o primeiro a começar a estudar para fazer a sua vida acadêmica. E aí eu tive que decidir não dar aula na igreja.
So he searched the doctors and his father to get some, tips and what to do, and he wasn't sure what to do. And he said that back then none of the professors would go to school because they would have to work all day long. so none of them really studied. And what they told him was that if Grandmaster Helio was asking him to come to teach in his academy, that meant that he was probably practically ready in Jiu-Jitsu. All his Jiu-Jitsu was in a high level already. But eventually he said that he decided not to go teach and actually go to university. And he also mentioned that the first one of the whole group there of the teachers that started to study was his brother that did that.
E nessa minha caminhada, com a minha juventude, eu era muito duro, muito disciplinador, porque eu também me cobrava muito nisso.
And he says he was tough on himself. He was very disciplined, and he would put a lot of pressure on himself to thrive and to achieve what he wanted to.
E dentro dessa história, eu fui fazer a universidade. Hoje eu tenho essas duas formações universitárias. Eu sou bacharel de Direito, que não exerço.
So with that, he became a lawyer.
E sou professor de Educação Física.
And
sou mestre em Educação Física.
Also a PhD, a Master in Physical Education. So he had two majors.
Aí fui para a universidade, fiz concurso, sou professor da universidade aposentado hoje.
He also got a job in the university. In Brazil, for you to teach in university, you have to go through a test. So there are many candidates trying to apply for the position, and they have these tests that you have to make, and the better qualified get the position. So he was able to pass in this exam, and he was one of the teachers or professors. Yeah, and it's the Federal University of Rio, which is the highest level university, is the most sought after, the hardest one to get in.
No curso de Educação Física.
In the Physical Education course.
E também, isso tudo concurso, isso você não...
All that by exams, right? So it's not like, oh, come to work for me. He had to go to a selection exam.
E também me aposentei no colégio Pedro II, que é um colégio padrão, vinculado ao Ministério da Educação em Brasília.
He also was a teacher in a high school, which is it's a public high school, but it's one of those exception high-level high schools that we have public high schools that we have in Brazil. Most of the public schools in Brazil are so-so, but this one is one of the exceptions, and this one is it's a good one. Still today, it's a known school, and he was also a physical education teacher in this school.
Dei aula durante 48 anos.
He taught for 48 years.
E há 3 anos atrás eu tive que me aposentar porque no Brasil você não pode trabalhar depois de 70 anos.
And he was obliged to retire 3 years ago because in Brazil the law requires that after 70 you cannot work anymore.
Estou aposentado.
So he's retired.
Don't look like that, né?
Essa é uma pequena história, né? De uma pessoa simples, de uma pessoa que sempre buscou na atividade física e na parte acadêmica esse equilíbrio. Foi aquilo que nós falamos mais cedo hoje, que é importante você não esquecer a tua história. O Paulão que o Silvio mencionou hoje.
He's saying that that's his story, and it's a story of a humble and a simple person that tried to find the balance between academia and sport and jiu-jitsu, which is what he liked. And he was saying that Paulão, which was one of his students when Master Daring was
eu me lembrei agora black belt, porque ele queria ser um grande campeão de jiu-jitsu. E ele disse assim: mestre, eu queria que você me desse mais aula, se dedicasse mais a mim, que eu quero ser um grande campeão. Aí eu disse para ele assim: campeão de jiu-jitsu ou de qualquer esporte é consequência.
Paulão asked him, he approached him and said, Master, can you please give me more attention? I want to have more classes with you because I want to be a big champion. I want to be a big jiu-jitsu champion. And then he looked at him and said, look, becoming a big jiu-jitsu champion, shouldn't be your goal, that's a consequence.
E ele ficava muito chateado, porque ele assumiu isso aí, ele aprendeu. Hoje ele é um advogado de excelente performance.
And in the beginning, he didn't really like Grandmaster's, answer. He probably didn't understand what he meant with that. But with time, I guess he understood. And nowadays, he's also a lawyer, and Grandmaster saying he's a very reputable lawyer, respected lawyer in Brazil.
E não é um profissional do jiu-jitsu.
And he's not. He doesn't work with jiu-jitsu anymore.
O Silvio, por exemplo, já é outro exemplo. Porque ele, quando era jovem, quando ele foi para a universidade, eu disse para ele fazer o curso de educação física, porque ele já estava me ajudando, dando aula comigo.
So with Master Bering, it was different because when Master Bering was time to decide what to do when he finished high school, he was already helping Grandmaster Álvaro in the school. He was already teaching, so he told him, that maybe you should do physical education and go into university for a major physical education.
E o Silvio gostava de dar aula, gostava de mostrar. O Paulão queria treinar.
And
sempre.
Silvio was always liked to teach, always liked to show. Probably made more of a profile of a professor, and Paulão, the other guy, was more of a fighter, and so it was a different scenario.
Apesar do Paulão ter sido um grande atleta, grande campeão,
He was a very good athlete and champion,
mas o Silvio também.
but so was Silvio.
Então a parte acadêmica não mudava a história das pessoas. Então era essa a minha história pequena, breve, que realmente estamos aqui hoje, né, nesses anos todos, aqui no Canadá, eu contando essa minha história para vocês.
So that's his story, and he says it's a short story. He's very humble. He's saying it's a short story, and now he's here in Canada, and he's probably very proud to be able to, pass it along and tell you guys his story.
Está respondido?
Is it answered?
Oh, beautiful.
Queria saber a sua opinião entre o jiu-jitsu esportivo e o jiu-jitsu de self-defense. Se você acha que algum é mais importante que o outro, ou se você acha que os dois são interligados.
Não são dois, é um só.
You say it's not two, it's only one.
É você, de repente, nunca esquecer a parte de self-defense, porque ela te complementa na parte de chão.
So you should never forget self-defense because it's a complement for the ground fighting.
E é nisso, a partir daí que vai sair exatamente as pessoas que querem competir. E nem todas as pessoas têm que competir.
And it's from there that it takes time for you to see who's going to want to compete, because not everybody wants to compete. So
É o cara ser professor e o cara ser pesquisador. São duas situações diferenciadas.
He's saying it's like a professor and a researcher. So it's two different things.
Ontem eu falei que o jiu-jitsu, que eu entendo, ela tem 4 vertentes, 4 pilares. 4 pilares. É o jiu-jitsu educacional.
So 4 pillars for jiu-jitsu: educational jiu-jitsu,
o jiu-jitsu competitivo,
competitive jiu-jitsu,
o jiu-jitsu filosofia,
philosophical jiu-jitsu, the philosophy of it, lifestyle,
e o jiu-jitsu terapia.
And the therapeutic jiu-jitsu.
No jiu-jitsu educacional, o indivíduo aprende ali um aprendizado normal para lidar com as outras pessoas. Então, educa a esse indivíduo com a forma de se comportar, de respeitar o seu próximo, de ser disciplinado, de ficar prestando atenção no trabalho que está sendo realizado. Então, tudo aquilo na formação do homem. Então, essa é a linha, o pilar do jiu-jitsu educacional.
So the educational is the one that is going to help you or teach you to how to deal with people, how to behave, how to relate with other people in a respectful way, in a proper way. So everything that Jiu-Jitsu brings to the formation of your character as an individual, that's the educational part of Jiu-Jitsu.
O jiu-jitsu competitivo é o jiu-jitsu de alto rendimento.
So competitive Jiu-Jitsu is the Jiu-Jitsu of high performance.
Que tem pessoas que querem partir para essa linha, que é realmente uma estrada mais tortuosa, mais difícil, porque ele vai ter que se superar.
He's saying that some people really like to go through this path, but it turns out to be a hard path because it's in this path the individual is going to have to go beyond his limits, right? It's a very tough, it's not a very easy path to follow if you want to be a champion, if you want to be a very successful sport of jiu-jitsu individual.
Isso num nível de exigência muito alto.
Yeah, it's a high level of competition, right? It's not.
O jiu-jitsu filosofia é o jiu-jitsu das pessoas que têm problemas. Contrário, desculpa. I'm sorry. O filosofia é para aquela pessoa que já está com a idade um pouco mais avançada, que quer fazer o jiu-jitsu como forma de autoaprendizado, cada vez mais momento de reflexão, treinar em todas as faixas etárias, trabalhar o físico visando muito mais a saúde dele.
And the philosophical jiu-jitsu he's saying, is for probably more older people that they're going to learn how to deal with his health, it's improved to his health and interact with other people.
Sem a preocupação de querer vencer ou perder,
without the worry of winning or losing, without the concern of winning or losing.
E praticar o jiu-jitsu.
Doing just to practice it, so you learn jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu itself.
E o jiu-jitsu terapia é para as pessoas, para jovens ou pessoas que têm problemas de autoconfiança.
And the therapeutic jiu-jitsu is for those that have self-confidence problems.
E essa pessoa que não tem autoconfiança, então o jiu-jitsu vai dar a ela as condições necessárias para que ela possa se equilibrar-se, para ela se autodefender-se, para ficar com mais autoconfiança.
So in jiu-jitsu will give these people the tool they need to balance more, to be more well balanced and be able to defend themselves, and as a result improve their self-confidence.
E aqueles que não são tímidos, que não são acanhados, que não têm confiança, aqueles que são mais agressivos, que normalmente eles desorganizam os grupos, ele quer bater, ele quer agredir, ele não respeita as regras, e às vezes é demasiado, ele precisa de um trabalho, de uma terapia, do profissional, mestre de luta, para poder moldá-lo. Na hora do treino, por exemplo, ele não pode vencer toda hora, de repente ele tem que perder muito. Porque você trabalha com a personalidade, com o psicológico do jovem. Então é importante que você, o professor, veja aquele menino, por exemplo, que só quer vencer.
He's saying that it also works for the opposite. The kid that is overconfident, over-aggressive, that thinks he's better than everybody else, that the cocky individual, that once they come to jiu-jitsu, he goes to a humbling process, and he says it's important for the professors and the instructors to realize or to be able to pinpoint who these individuals are, because you have to work in a specific way with these people. And he said that, like, for example, you cannot let him win all the time. You have to make sure he loses a lot, so he starts getting a little bit more humble and not so cocky, because if he wins a lot, then it's just gonna really help. It's just gonna make it worse.
E o maior laboratório que o professor tem no tatame, é na hora do trabalho que está sendo realizado. Tem aquele aluno que só quer vencer, e às vezes ele quer na vitória ele machuca um pouco mais. Isso o professor tem que estar atento. O professor não pode em nenhum momento escapar o olhar disso.
Saying that the professor's lab is the mats. So, and once you're here, you have to, as a professor, as a teacher, as an instructor, really have to pay attention to what's going on, because usually these kids that want to win no matter what. They may be a little bit over aggressive, or they end up hurting the partner in order to reach victory. So it's kind of a bully or a goon kind of personality.
Ok.
Okay. Mr. Tyson. Thank you. That was okay, Mark? That was answer.
I'm interested to know for competition at the world level, some of your favorite competitors to launch, was current or past competitors, like whose style you like best?
Quem são os seus competidores favoritos de qualquer época, de agora, do passado? Quem são os melhores competidores que são
O maior exemplo que eu tenho é o Silvio.
I don't know if I need to translate, but he said that the biggest example he has is Master Barry.
Na minha história, na verdade, eu sempre fui um professor que não ficava muito preocupado com a competição. A competição para mim era consequência, não era o objetivo.
He said that through his jiu-jitsu career, he was never really worried about competition. He said that competition was never really his goal; it was a consequence. So in other words, if you did well in the mats, you probably would do well in the competition.
E no auge da minha história, hoje eu não tenho academia. Apesar de eu ter uma academia, mas eu estou hoje fazendo um outro negócio. O que eu tenho é aulas particulares, né, no meu estado. Eu dou aulas particulares, não dou aula mais coletiva.
So he has no group class anymore. He only gives privates nowadays. He says so he doesn't have like a ongoing academy or school that people go and all the time. So he has private classes.
Mas eu tenho uma associação Barreto de Jiu-Jitsu em Brasília, onde eu tenho 40 faixas pretas.
But he has an association in Brasilia. Brasilia is the capital of Brazil, which is not in Rio, it's in the middle of the country, where he has an association under him, Barreto Association, that he has 40 black belts.
Eu sou o presidente da associação.
So he's the president of this association.
E quem é o líder lá é um sobrinho.
And his nephew is the head of the association there.
Grande campeão de jiu-jitsu.
Great champion of jiu-jitsu.
José Roberto de Melo Barreto.
José Roberto de Melo Barreto.
O Zé Roberto, ele foi vice-campeão brasileiro de judô fazendo jiu-jitsu.
He was second place Brazilian
Judo
judo championships, only playing jiu-jitsu.
Claro que ele treinava judô também, mas não com tanta...
He knew a little bit of judo, but he was not as dedicated to judo.
Porque eu entendia que o competidor, tanto o Silvio como o Zé Roberto, o Paulão, esses grandes campeões que eu tive, eu como treinava mais defesa pessoal, mais chão, etc., tinha uma deficiência no judô. Eu tinha essa deficiência de trabalhar com os nossos alunos. A gente fazia uma parte básica, aí eu botava eles para treinar. O Silvio treinou no Jorge Midi, faixa preta de judô, e o Zé Roberto treinou com o Oswaldo Alves, também se tornou faixa preta nessa modalidade. Porque eu sempre entendi, na competição você tem que estar muito bem preparado, em cima, no chão, distante ou junto.
He feels that in competition you always have to be well-rounded on the ground, on the bottom, on standing up on the ground, or if you're close to the guy or if you're away from the guy. And he felt that they lack good quality, or they could improve their quality in judo. They knew only the basic, and they would teach their students the basic judo. So as a result, he had his instructors to go do judo elsewhere. So Master Barry went to do judo in Sensei Meiji School. It's a very famous school in Rio de Janeiro. And Paulo? Zé Roberto went to Oswaldo Alves, which is another judo school in Brazil. So to complement the jiu-jitsu, they would go for competition. Yeah, sorry, Master, it's important. So he felt that for competition, they were lacking the standing up part. So as for such reason, he would have them go to complement their standing up doing judo.
Really changed the path or affected the path of jiu-jitsu?
Primeiro ele agradeceu, falou que era incrível a sua história, do seu partilharismo. Eu queria saber se teve algum momento, alguma pessoa que te marcou como se fosse uma coisa que mudou a trajetória do jiu-jitsu. Um momento, uma pessoa. Do jiu-jitsu.
Eu acho que o jiu-jitsu no Brasil, ou o jiu-jitsu no mundo, ele deu uma estagnada.
He feels that jiu-jitsu in Brazil and even in the world is a little stalled now, kind of flatlined.
Acho que aqui é um grande celeiro para o desenvolvimento do jiu-jitsu moderno, futurista. Por quê? Porque aqui vocês estão fazendo o verdadeiro jiu-jitsu, a essência do jiu-jitsu, o jiu-jitsu clássico.
He feels that here, since we've been doing the classic jiu-jitsu, the true essence of jiu-jitsu, we are very fertile soil to produce new things or to actually bring jiu-jitsu to another level.
Hoje no mundo, em poucos lugares, fazem defesa pessoal, não sabem. Tem muitos faixas pretas hoje que não sabem.
Saying that throughout the world, it's very few people and very few places actually that know jiu-jitsu, self-defense in jiu-jitsu. Says that too many black belts that don't really know self-defense.
E eu falo isso com muita tranquilidade, porque hoje no MMA, que antigamente a base do MMA era o jiu-jitsu, 60% era jiu-jitsu, hoje não é nem 30% que eles praticam jiu-jitsu.
He's saying that in MMA in the beginning, jiu-jitsu played a big part of it. He's saying it was 60% of MMA was jiu-jitsu, and nowadays we're losing, or jiu-jitsu is losing that, and he says nowadays not even 30%.
E com isso eu estou dizendo, o sujeito ele entra dentro da guarda do indivíduo, ele prefere ground pound do que passar a guarda e depois bater.
He's saying that an example is that the guy gets in somebody else's guard in MMA, and he'd rather ground and pound than pass the guard.
E o jiu-jitsu nós sabemos o seguinte, você não pode querer finalizar qualquer situação enquanto você não tiver com a posição pronta para você poder fazê-lo.
And he's saying that we know that in jiu-jitsu you can only apply a submission once you have the proper moment and timing and the position is settled for you to apply a submission. Position before submission.
You'll be heard first. Segunda vez.
Good one.
De todas as suas contusões na carreira, qual foi a pior?
Injury, you said, right?
Não faça essa pergunta, eu sou todo...
So don't ask me that because I'm an injury. Please.
Kevin. Situações de defesa pessoal aplicadas na rua.
Eu vou dar um exemplo para você. Quando eu saí da Academia Gracie, eu fui para o Ceará.
When he left the Gracie Academy, he went to Ceará. Ceará is a state in Brazil in the northern part of the country.
O meu irmão mais velho era diretor do Instituto Escola Técnica do Ceará.
His older brother was a director of a technical school there in Ceará.
E o meu irmão queria me levar porque ele tinha um professor que era politicamente contrário a ele, e o cara era professor de educação física.
And his brother wanted him to go to join him in Ceará because the physical education teacher was in a different political group and kind of a political rival of his brother.
E o meu irmão, como diretor, estava no gabinete, não estava vivenciando.
And since his brother was a director, was more living in a bureaucratic part of it. He was not really living the day by day and couldn't really see what was going on in real life and in the day by day at the education center, at the technical school.
Como eu tinha saído da Academia Gracie, meu irmão disse assim: você não quer ir para o Ceará comigo? Eu te contrato como auxiliar de professor de educação física, porque educação física eu não era professor, não era formado. mas ele queria botar como auxiliar dando aula de defesa pessoal.
So his brother, because he was not majored in physical education yet, his brother wanted to hire him as a assistant of the physical educational professor, but to teach self-defense.
E meu irmão, de uma forma politicamente estratégica, ele disse assim: eu quero que você dê aula de defesa pessoal para a turma que está se formando. Ele se formava com a base de 18, 19 anos, estava terminando o curso técnico.
So he said that he wanted him to teach a specific class, which was the people that were graduated that year. So they were about 18 or 19 years old, and his brother wanted him to teach these groups specifically.
E a turma era de 20
people in the class.
E eu fui para o Ceará, e chegando no primeiro dia, o meu irmão me levou à turma, me apresentou e me preparou um tatame, era colchão, era uma lona com um colchão, uma lona em cima, uma
So
sala.
he said that the first day he got there, his brother introduced him to everybody,
E ele disse,
and he prepared the room, but there was no mats. It was like mattresses with like a tarp on top.
E aí meu irmão disse assim: eu estou trazendo o meu irmão, o Álvaro Barreto, para vir dar aula de defesa pessoal. Eles eram da minha idade, talvez um pouco mais velhos do que eu, todos.
So
20.
he's saying that his brother got there and introduced him to everybody and says, I'm bringing, this is my brother, Álvaro Barreto, he's going to be teaching you. And he said that pretty much everybody was older than him. He was the younger, Mestre Álvaro was the younger one.
Na época ninguém tinha kimono.
There was no gis.
Então eu disse para ele: olha, vocês não me conhecem, não sabem o que é que eu faço jiu-jitsu, vocês não me conhecem, então eu vou treinar com cada um de vocês. Aquele que eu finalizar, sai e eu vou finalizando. Se eu não conseguir, não consegui.
And he told them that back then there was no gi, and he told them, yeah, you guys don't know me, so I'm going to have to show you what I do. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, and so we're going to roll, and I'm going to have to tap all you guys, you know, so I can show you what I do.
Realmente os 20 passaram rápido.
And he said, really, and I submitted the 20 really quickly.
Passei a ser um professor
Then he became the teacher.
e foi a liderança.
And that was it.
Nessa mesma época, o Hélio Gracie, a família Gracie, tinha terrenos no Ceará.
At that time, the Gracie family had some land in Ceará.
E o Hélio Gracie sabia que eu estava no Ceará.
And Master Hélio Gracie knew that he was there.
Eu tinha saído da Academia Gracie há pouco tempo. E quando ele foi conversar com uma pessoa que estava interessada em comprar um dos terrenos dele, uma localização muito boa lá, o melhor bairro do Ceará.
Then he used to have a terrain or a lot in the hottest neighborhood of Ceará, and when Master Hélio went to talk to the potential buyer,
E essa pessoa que comprou o terreno do Hélio Gracie era um empresário rico, e ele era pequeno, ele era baixo, e ele tinha uma empresa de transporte. E ele, com o Hélio Gracie, disse assim: Hélio, eu tenho algumas dificuldades no meu dia a dia aqui, toda vez que eu ponho um empregado, um chofer para fora, são as pessoas grandes, eu tenho meio receio, tenho um pouco assim, e você não tem ninguém que possa me apresentar aqui para fazer um trabalhozinho com você e tal.
so the guy that was going to buy the terrain was very rich. He was a businessman and he owned a transportation company, but he was a small guy. So once he spoke to Hélio, when he was dealing with Grandmaster Hélio about the business of the terrain, he mentioned to him that if he asked Grandmaster Hélio if he had somebody that Grandmaster Hélio would recommend, because he had a hard time with his employees, because every time that he fired somebody, he felt threatened because he was a small guy, and all these truck drivers, big and rough guys, and so he felt intimidated. He was not confident enough to go there and fire them.
E aí comecei a dar aula individual.
Then you started doing a private class to this businessman.
Ele me apanhava de automóvel, me levava para a casa dele. Na casa dele tinha uma sala enorme, tinha já o tatame melhor.
And he said that in this guy's house, they have like real matted area, because the guy was rich, so he had a big area, all matted, and he would go there. He would pick Grandmaster Álvaro at home, I know, and would take him to his house so he could have privates there.
E fui dando aula, teve um dia que eu cheguei de manhã para dar aula, ele disse assim, professor, eu estou com um problema aqui. Eu disse, qual é o problema? Ele disse assim, o meu jardineiro estava assistindo aquela aula de ontem de paulada, e ele disse que ele com o pau na mão, ninguém tira o pau da mão.
He said, he said that one day the businessman came to him and he said, look, I have this situation because my gardener saw the class last week or yesterday, and he was showing me the stick defense, you know, and the guy said that he doesn't believe that if you give him a stick, there's no way you can escape from him. He's going to beat you up with a stick. Or he's going to beat me up with a stick, he said.
Eu chamo ele.
Call him.
Aí perguntei a ele o seguinte, você não acredita que eu tiro o pau da sua mão?
He asked him, you don't believe that I can take the stick out from you?
Ele disse assim, senhor me desculpe, mas eu não acredito não.
And then he said, I beg your pardon, but I don't believe so.
Ele era mais baixo do que eu, mais forte, muito forte.
He was shorter than him, but stocky.
Eu peguei um cabo de vassoura, que eu dava aula com cabo de vassoura, esse tamanho aqui.
So he got a small stick like that?
Esse pau que vocês usam de defesa pessoal.
Yeah, the same one like the one you guys used the other day here.
Eu disse para ele assim, você tem que me machucar, senão eu vou te machucar.
And he told the guy, you gotta hurt me, because otherwise I'm gonna hurt you.
Eu disse isso por quê?
And he said that
Porque a pessoa quando vai agredir a outra, tem duas formas. A de brincadeira, ele vai dar paulada e fica assim, fica brincadeira. Seria talvez até mais difícil tirar o pau da mão dele, se ele não quisesse me tocar, até eu acho que eu teria mais trabalho, mas tiraria de qualquer forma. Mas eu dando a ele, mostrando a ele que eu ia tirar e machucá-lo, ele tinha que me acertar para me machucar. Eu disse, você tem que me acertar para me machucar, senão eu vou te machucar.
There could be two ways that the guy could interact with him, either as a game, like we would try to poke him and hit like that, like he was saying before, like a unreal attack. So or he could hit him realistically. So he said that, so the guy would actually come and hit him realistically, because he felt that if he started just poking him, hitting him around, it was probably going to be harder for him to take the stick away from the guy, versus if the guy goes and hit him realistically.
Yeah. Nesse momento, teoricamente, na defesa pessoal, toda vez que o cara estiver armado, você tem que estar com a noção exata da distância dele.
So every time that the guy has a weapon, you have to know exactly, you have to understand the distance between the two.
De repente, o Mike lá para acertar, me dar uma paulada, vai ser difícil dali, né?
And saying that for Mike to hit him from there, it's very hard.
Então ele tem que se aproximar de mim.
You're gonna have to get closer to him.
Eu vi aqui uma defesa pessoal de paulada.
Ryan? No, Ryan. From right here. Not here anymore?
Saying that he saw a move here of
Defesa
this
de
defense.
paulada comum que vocês conhecem de longe. Então não me preocupava, porque ele não ia nunca bater na minha cabeça, eu não ia deixar.
He said he was not worried because he knew that there was no way the guy was going to hit him on the head. There's no way that the guy would hurt him.
Porque a distância dele, eu não ficaria na distância que ele queria que eu ficasse.
Because he wouldn't allow the guy to reach the good distance for the guy.
Quando ele levantou o pau para me acertar, ele tinha distância. Eu me aproximei dele e defendi. Quando eu defendi, eu dei-lhe uma queda e caí em cima dele.
When the guy tried to hit him, he made the defense, he shortened the distance, made the defense, and pulled a throw. And when we threw him, he fell on him, or with him.
Eu podia simplesmente dar só a queda, mas eu queria que ele sentisse. Que realmente não era só assim, eu não podia protegê-lo, ele tinha que sentir realmente que a paulada não era tão importante assim.
He could just gently throw him on the ground, but he wanted the guy to feel that things were a little bit harder than that, so he landed on him.
Aí eu disse para ele assim, mais uma vez, eu tive sorte, mais uma vez.
He said, no, I was lucky this time. Let's try it again. One more. You know, he told the guy, like the gardener, let's try it again. I was lucky now. That was my luck. Let's try it again.
Só que ele não veio com o pau aqui, ele veio de lado.
But then the guy didn't do it like that. He went sideways
E veio com raiva,
and mad.
porque ele tinha sentido a dor.
Yeah, because he felt the pain and he took the hit. So the guy was not happy. And now he was serious, really wanted to hit him, but sideways.
Aí eu fui caminhando para ele, porque ele avançou, grudei nele, clichei. Quando eu clichei com ele, o pau saiu da mão dele, o braço dele bateu aqui, o pau, pá, na janela, quebrou o vidro.
Saying that when he shortened the distance and clinched, the motion of the hit, so probably the arm hit his body, and the guy let go the stick, and the stick flew and hit the window and broke the window.
Aí eu fui dar queda nele. Ele estava uma estátua, ele estava estancado no chão.
And he said that when he tried to throw him, the guy was totally stiff like that, not trying to get thrown.
Aí eu entrei pela meio da perna, pulou, e foi eu e ele. Bum!
Then he said he countered and then went backwards and then him and the guy, and he landed on him again.
Essa foi pior,
And this one was even worse than the first one
porque eu fui junto com ele.
because they went together all the way through.
A partir dali, esse jardineiro passou a ser o sparring do meu aluno.
After that, the gardener became his student's partner or sparring. He would be the one training with him.
Eu disse assim, botava luva nele, luva, no jardineiro. Agride aqui o seu
So
patrão.
he would put the gloves on the gardener and he said, "Okay, go beat your boss. You know, go spank your boss."
O meu aluno já estava preparado, já estava bem.
And the businessman he already knew some. He was already good, had some knowledge of self-defense.
Self-defense. Aí mandava ele deitar no chão. Você deita aí, monta nele aqui. O jardineiro montava nele. Aí saía. Aí foi um espetáculo, porque o patrulheiro melhorou sensivelmente por causa do jardineiro.
I say that was great because he used to do that a lot, and the student improved, and it was great because he improved a lot because of the gardener. Because the gardener was an offender, right? He didn't believe, so he was trying always to put that on challenge, and because of that, the guy had the learning curve going up, and he improved a lot in this time.
Yeah, sun's still up.
Steve?
Master, now in Brazil, you obviously still doing the self-defense. Do you put a lot of strikes into it? Do you make people wear gloves and go, okay, try and hit it to make self-defense through? As Grandmaster himself, Grandmaster teaches the riot. Does he still say, guys, take the gloves to make self-defense through?
Perguntou se hoje em dia no Brasil, se você ainda tem esse tipo de aula, de que põe alguém com a luva, esse mesmo tipo de aula, com alguém agredindo o outro de luva e tal, se você
Não gente de fora. Não gente de fora.
Não?
Eu posso dar um exemplo. O Carson, quando foi treinar o pessoal contra a luta livre,
So he said that
teve
now
desafio do jiu-jitsu com a luta livre
Yeah.
no Brasil.
there was a big, he said that there was a big challenge, you probably heard of that before, between luta livre and jiu-jitsu in Brazil, right? In the 90s, you guys probably heard of that, YouTube or whatever. And Carson was the one training Carson Gracie was the one training the jiu-jitsu team.
Eram 5 atletas.
5 fighters.
Murilo Bustamante, Fábio Gel, o Marcelo, o Valide e... Valide... Não, eram 4. O Valide.
So Murilo Bustamante, Fábio Gurgel, Marcelo Bering and Valide Ismail were the Brazilian or the jiu-jitsu guys.
O treinamento era fechado, porta fechada.
And the training was closed doors, locked.
E o Carlos me chamou para assistir.
And Carson invited him to go watch the training.
Quando terminou o treino,
When it was over,
o Carlos perguntou, Álvaro, o que você achou do treino?
Carson asked him, so what did you think?
Eu disse para ele, eu acho que eles estão indo muito para a baiana.
He said, I think they're trying a lot the double leg.
E de uma forma muito transparente, perigosa.
And
Exposing a lot.
Yeah, exposing a lot. It's too obvious that they were going to the double leg, and that was dangerous.
Aí o caso que você queria treinar eles na parte de pé, a parte de bloqueio, de clinch, eu digo, claro. E eles foram, a partir desse dia, durante 3 dias nós treinamos só lá na minha academia. Aí eu botava luva de boxe, eu botava para poder dar, botava um com o outro e tal. Então, na verdade, de fora não, mas dentro dos alunos você pode usar luva de boxe sim, para fazer a defesa. Claro, uma luva maior para poder, e você tem que colocar o aluno esteja bem treinado para poder fazer, para não levar, não levar não, mas não dar um knockdown, alguma coisa nesse sentido, mas fica próximo da realidade dele de rua.
So he said that he doesn't do that with the gardener anymore, but he would do with his own students. And he said that back then, when there was a time of the challenge, that Carson asked him to help train the clinching part and
How to get closer.
how to get closer. So then he would put the glove and do it with the athletes. But he's saying that this is a tricky thing, because the guy you're doing with has to be in good shape, in good technical and physical shape. Has to be a guy that is willing to be doing that, because you can hurt the guy, right? You can get a punch,
and just to complement that, it's very important to understand one thing. When you put someone with the gloves on, you're not exposing the other guy to get hurt. You're exposing the guy with the gloves on to get hurt. Because if the other guy went to defend himself and go correctly, you're probably going to throw the guy hard on the ground, and you can't play it. Like I use that a lot in MMA. Guys with big gloves, guys with small gloves can't hit. They have to defend themselves. The guys with big gloves, they're going to go 100% trying to punch. So the jiu-jitsu guys I used to, and certainly I have, every Wednesday, I have an MMA class, jiu-jitsu for MMA. I used to use the gi a lot, but when I have a group, they're going for close to their fights, I take the gi off and put them with just the same gear they're going to wear during their matches, during their professional fights. And if they're from jiu-jitsu, I'll make sure that the aggressor will give them a chance to clinch properly. It's not all the time about that, but at least once or twice before the fight, I make this kind of training. It works good. And we're still doing that a lot in the clubs. Depends on the level of the group. Like I told Richie Chris, I will do that here with you guys for the instructors class. But still, we need to work a little more to make sure we have we have a very group of guys, but still some things, priorities above that to work on. But doesn't mean that you can't do your students. You can't do your students. It's really good to have this. Because it's good to be able to exchange striking. But if you don't want to hurt someone, if you don't want to punch, the person don't have not enough skills to challenge you on the punch, and you're going to just clinch and take it to the ground to control the situation. It's better to know exactly the timing to get close and clinch. That's why in the beginning, when they used to train for Vale Tudo, the sparring was the most important part. Why? They used to bring boxers, professional boxers, to train them, professional capoeira guys, they're not professional, but the masters capoeira guys, to train with them. And through those guys attacking them, they had the chance to get the momentum, the best timing for the clinch, because that's the most difficult part.
Em cima disso, a importância é tão grande. Nós estamos falando em agressão, soco, que é um exemplo muito claro nisso. A gente vê no jogo do MMA, você não vê nenhuma uma técnica de defesa. Eles não sabem clinchar, eles querem trocar soco. A expertise dele é luta, é chão, é junto. Mas ele não sabe clinchar, então ele passa a treinar boxe. O boxe não é para ele trocar soco com o outro, não. É para ele ter melhor distanciamento para poder clinchar. Esse é o objetivo dele. E hoje eles não fazem, eles trocam. Então, a especialidade do cara é jiu-jitsu ou qualquer outra modalidade de luta junto. E ele prefere trabalhar no soco, onde ele não é um especialista.
Seeing that nowadays in MMA, you see the guys that has a jiu-jitsu background or is a specialist on the ground, but they don't know how to clinch. So they learn boxing or Muay Thai, or he used boxing as an example. And then the guy, and the idea is to learn to box, to understand how am I going to clinch you. Not learn to box the guy. Because I'm a jiu-jitsu specialist. So I don't care how much boxing I do, I'm not going to know enough or more than my ground. So he's saying that nowadays you don't see a lot because people have this misconcept of learning, let's say, boxing, but not certain. They don't really understand why they're learning boxing, right? They're learning boxing to exchange on standing, and whether they should be learning boxing not to exchange, right? Just to know how to get into the clinch.
Very important to understand also that for the teams now, MMA teams, they have coaches, Muay Thai coach, boxing coach, wrestling coach, Jiu-Jitsu coach. Usually what I see that happens a lot is a little ego that the coach want to see his abilities being shown in the match. So if I'm a Muay Thai, for sure, I want to see the guys. One thing, I don't want to see the guys who are not specialists in Jiu-Jitsu trying to go for submission. I train there more to don't be on the bottom and make sure they escape from the situation on the bottom properly, to be stand up and go back for their specialty. That's why I trained Anderson for 4 years just for that. And he got mad with me after that because he wanted to go and learn submissions and work submissions. And, man, I want to train you to get out of there. You're a specialist in stand up. Just forget the submissions. But before his fights, there's no way I did accept that. It was after the fight, and then I could relax. After the fight, then so put your gi on, we'll roll and have fun. But close to the fights, there's no way. So, but the guys in Jiu-Jitsu, for sure I want them. When I go, Jacaré gonna fight, what I want, don't want. Really, if you knock out, gonna be good for the team. But if you tap the guy, it's always good. Jiu-Jitsu is coming along, so it's good for the coach. I'm not that ego. I'm more for the team than from that. But I can see the boxing coach sometimes, forcing the guys for more boxing. That's the point. Guys, unfortunately, we don't have more time for questions and answers, but Richie, please have something to say here.
Yes.
But just before that, one round of applause for Mr. Alves.